right, let's dive in. Today we're going deep on something pretty interesting. And to kick things off, we're focusing on the first chapter of a source that really got us thinking about, well, the power of feeling good, like really feeling good and feeling it right now.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. This chapter lays out this really intriguing idea, and it's that tuning into positive emotions. And not just in some vague future sense, but like right now in this present moment, it's not just, a nice thing to do. It might actually be the most direct path to getting what you truly want out of life.
Exactly. And, the chapter really drives home this point that your emotions, they're not just sort of background noise, right? They're not just these fleeting things that come and go. They're more like, I don't know, almost like real-time feedback, like a super sophisticated guidance system that's constantly showing you just how aligned you are or aren't with the things that you deeply desire.
So if you're feeling good, like genuinely good right now, well, that's a pretty powerful indicator, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so. I mean, that's a pretty exciting thought, right? So, you're saying that when you're feeling those positive emotions, it's like, according to this source, you're basically vibrating on the same frequency as, like, your dreams and goals and all the things you want to experience.
You got it. It's like, think of it as aligning your internal frequency, like a radio dial, with the frequency of your desired reality. When you're tuned in like that, you become so much more receptive to actually experiencing those outcomes.
Yeah.
That's the idea anyway.
Okay, I like that. Good feelings, green light. I'm with you. But what about the flip side? What about those times when, you're feeling, let's just say, not so great? What's the message there? What's that telling us according to this chapter?
That's a huge question. It's really at the heart of it all, I think. And this chapter, it proposes that, those negative emotions that we all experience, they're not just, unpleasant or uncomfortable. They're actually really valuable signals. They're signs of what it calls resistance, a kind of friction between where you are now and where you want to be. So feeling bad, it's not just, it doesn't just feel bad. It can, from this perspective, actually contribute to keeping you stuck in a situation that you probably want to move beyond.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
we're so conditioned to think, okay, I'll finally feel good. I'll finally let myself feel good once I get that promotion, once I hit that weight loss goal, once I achieve whatever it is I'm striving for. But this source, it kind of flips that whole script, doesn't it?
It totally does. And I love that about it. It's like, it's saying, hey, the real secret here, the real magic is to actually cultivate those feelings of joy, gratitude, love, whatever it is for you, to actually invite those feelings in right now. And that this kind of proactive approach, this choosing to feel good in the present moment, that's what sets the stage for those positive changes to actually unfold in your life.
So it's not about ignoring problems or pretending that everything's perfect when it's not, right? It's not about putting on a fake smile and saying, oh, everything's amazing when it's not.
Exactly. It's not about denial or, what some people call toxic positivity. It's about a much deeper shift. It's about recognizing the power of your overall energetic state. The chapter touches on this, this idea of an energetic state. And it's not just your current emotions, but also like your dominant thought patterns, your beliefs, the whole package. It's saying that all of that plays a role in how your reality takes shape.
Right. It's less about forcing yourself to think positive thoughts and more about, genuinely feeling good and trusting that that positive feeling, that elevated energy, that's what's going to start to ripple out and influence your experience. And that kind of leads us to, another really big idea that this chapter digs into, the idea that the universe, reality, whatever you want to call it, is always responding to your prevailing energetic state, that sort of overall vibe you're putting out there.
100%. And I think, for a lot of people, this concept resonates on such a deep level. It's the idea that when you consistently find ways to feel good, when you prioritize those positive emotions, you're essentially sending out a positive signal. And that signal acts like, like a magnet, drawing similar experiences, opportunities, people, all of that into your life. It's like the saying, like attracts like, but operating on an emotional level.
I love that, like attracts like, but for feelings and experiences. So it's not just, a nice thought or some feel-good philosophy. It's presented as a fundamental principle. And I think the chapter uses a really clever analogy to drive home the point that waiting to feel good until after you've achieved something is, kind of backwards. It compares it to like waiting to water your plants until they've completely withered and are on the brink of death.
Such a good analogy, right? Makes you think, like, how effective would that really be in the garden? The chapter's point is pretty clear. Just like plants need consistent care and nourishment to thrive, so do our desires. And that nourishment, well, it comes in the form of actively cultivating those positive emotions.
Yeah, it's like we're feeding our dreams with good vibes. Okay, but let's be real for a minute. We're human, right? We can't just snap our fingers and suddenly be in a state of bliss, especially when we're facing real challenges, real difficulties. So how do you actually, like practically speaking, how do you start putting this whole feeling good now idea into practice? Where do you even begin?
Totally. And the chapter acknowledges that, shifting your emotional state, it's not always instant. You don't just go from 0 to 60 in a split second. But it does lay out this super important first step, and that's awareness. It's all about simply noticing without judgment how you're actually feeling in this moment. Think of it like, you need to know which way a ship is currently pointed before you can start steering it in a new direction.
Right. Kind of like taking an honest inventory, an emotional snapshot. Okay, so awareness is key. You've got to know where you're starting from. So then what? What's the next move?
So from that point of awareness, the strategy the chapter suggests is to consciously choose thoughts that offer even just a tiny bit of relief, a little bit of improvement in how you feel. And it's not about forcing yourself to jump from feeling terrible to ecstatic, which often feels forced and inauthentic anyway. It's more about building that gentle momentum, like slowly but surely steering the ship in a more positive direction.
I see. So small incremental shifts, kind of like making little course corrections along the way. Okay. And over time, those small adjustments, they add up.
Precisely. It's a process, not a one-time thing. The chapter uses this great analogy here. It says to think of your feelings like a dimmer switch. You don't have to go from darkness to full brightness instantly. You can start by just, nudging that light up a bit at a time. Each little choice, each time you choose a slightly better feeling thought, it adds up. It creates a cumulative effect.
A dimmer switch for your emotions. I like that. Okay, so awareness, small shifts. And I know the chapter also talks about appreciation and gratitude. How do those fit into this picture, this whole idea of making feeling good a priority?
Well, when you think about it, appreciation and gratitude, they naturally direct your focus toward what's already good in your life. They shine a spotlight on what's working, what you already have. Even when things are tough, there are always things to appreciate, to be grateful for.
Right, even if they seem small. It's like intentionally training your brain to scan for the good stuff instead of just zeroing in on what's wrong or what's missing.
Exactly. And the chapter suggests that when you make that conscious choice to acknowledge those good things, even the seemingly small ones, it can really shift your whole perspective. It's like, training your mind to see the abundance that already exists around you rather than getting caught up in what you perceive as lacking. It's about making that choice to focus on the 10 good things that are happening, even if there's one challenging thing grabbing your attention.
Okay, so it's about intentionally directing your focus, choosing where you put your mental energy. And even that seemingly subtle shift, according to this chapter, can have a huge impact on how you feel in this moment. And I think that's really the core message here, isn't it? That our feelings aren't just passive bystanders. They're active players in shaping our reality.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, such an empowering perspective. It means that by consciously choosing to cultivate those positive emotions, you're actually participating in creating your future.
Yeah, you're not just a passenger along for the ride. You're actually at the wheel, steering things in the direction you want to go. And the fuel, the energy that powers that journey is those good feelings, that sense of alignment and joy and appreciation.
It really is. And, speaking of going deeper, our next exploration is going to take us into chapter 2. Which introduces this fascinating idea that we're far more than just our physical bodies.
Oh, wow. That sounds like it's going to open up some really interesting conversations. I can't wait to dive into that.
It's going to be a good one. But until our next deep dive, here's a question to ponder, something to chew on that builds on what we talked about today but wasn't explicitly covered in the chapter. What if you started paying even closer attention to those small, seemingly insignificant moments throughout your day that spark even just a tiny bit of joy, gratitude, or peace? What if you really focused on those moments, really savored them? How might that shift your whole experience of life?
That is a fantastic question. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It's like an invitation to conduct your own experiment, to really see the power of focusing on the good in action.
Love it. Well, until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep noticing those good feeling moments, and keep playing with the amazing power of feeling good now. Happy diving.